In the MQM areas, how can you fight an election? You know, the MQM decided to, after they thought they'd done a lot of work in Kashmir, and Azad Kashmir after the earthquake, which is good. But once they had done the work, they decided that they would form MQM in Azad Kashmir and fight elections there. So they fielded candidates in the whole of Azad Kashmir. So in the elections, in the whole of Azad Kashmir, the total vote all the candidates got was less than 100. But there were 2 seats in Karachi. So now I'm just giving you an example of what happened. Now there were 2 seats, Kashmiri seats in Karachi. Okay, because there's a Kashmiri population. Now the highest ever vote in Karachi by a Kashmiri politician was 7,000. So in one of, both the seats, highest vote was 7,000. By 11 a.m., polling had closed and the MQM candidates had crossed 18,000. By 11 a.m. in the morning, the polling had closed. So the 2 MQM candidates won and are sitting in the Azad Kashmir Assembly. So you cannot, in Pakistan, this is the big thing. That's, people talk about boycotting the election. We had to boycott the election. Because you cannot fight elections when 60% of your superior court judges have been sacked. There's an emergency. There's a clampdown on media. How can you fight elections then and say that this is a free... It's like elections in Iraq or in Afghanistan. You can't have elections unless there is, If there was democracy in simply holding elections, then Mugabe should be democratic. Mubarak has been holding elections for 30 years. Islam Karimov in Uzbekistan, I think it's even over 30 years, he's been holding elections. They always get 99%. So, elections doesn't mean democracy. So that's why the key thing, that's why I come back to the point. This is a critical time in Pakistan. People like us who want to see, Pakistan where it should have been, and for the information of most of you wish it should have been. In 1965, Gunnar Myrdal, the Swedish Nobel Prize winner, wrote this book called The Asian Miracle. In 1965. And he said in 1965 that the country that was going to become the California of Asia was Pakistan. He said, and he gave reasons. He said all the requirements for this country to become the highest per capita, the most prosperous place in the whole of Asia was Pakistan. And Pakistan was, in the early 60s, was rising, was the model for development in the whole of Asia. So, where did we go wrong? In my opinion, this is where we went wrong. Not the policies. We did not have rule of law. We had criminals gradually coming into power. Criminals coming into power for only one reason: abusing power. And nothing to check them. Only thing that can check abuse of power, independent justice system. So gradually the whole system began to collapse. So it was the highest bidder. People started selling votes. In Pakistan, votes are bought today. You can buy votes. You see the people on the last 2 days before the elections, 48 hours before, votes are bought. Because it's big money in politics. Just now after, the famous NRO, National Reconciliation Ordinance, the state bank president, she gave the statement. She said before the NRO, the biggest defaulters, there were 3,000 of them. And now there are only 200 left. So why wouldn't people go into politics? Why wouldn't criminals go into politics? Because that's where you make all your money. There's no conflict of interest. I can get as much money from before that. Nationalized banks, get as much money as you want, then have them waived off. Loans waived off. 55 billion rupees loans were waived off in the last 3 years. For all of rich people, including 2 ex-chief ministers. So why wouldn't people come into politics? Criminals come in, and why would people like you go into politics? Because you're already scared. Whenever I kept, for 12 years I was asked this question. इमरान साहब, आपको सियासत में आने की क्या जरूरत है? कि सियासत में आते हैं, जरूरत है तो सियासत में आओ। वो कौन सी जरूरत है? अगर आप भूखे नंगे पैसे बनाने हैं। शेख रशीद इराकी, he used to earn what? He used to get stipends.